right there. So I said, this was about time to write a book. I'm the last one connected with 62. There's nobody left. Ralph kind of passed along, not too long away, 6 months, etc. And Roger Craig, Frank Thomas actually just passed away. So I think that was about the last two that are really around. So I said, let's write some stories about Casey. Let's have some fun with it.
Nice.
I starting in New York at 17 with the Mets.
17 years old.
I was 17.
That's right. You had 6 at-bats at Polo Grounds.
I had two.
That's right, Herb.
Ed, was
Gold
that
star,
right out of
front
high
row.
school?
That's right.
All right.
Was that right out of high school?
Yeah, I did. I started, I signed the contract 2 days after graduating. I wound up going to California, never was on a plane before. And I think Sandy met me at the airport. He said, I want to pitch tomorrow night. And if you're going to be in there, maybe you'll be one of the guys I can get out. And we wound up pitching a no-hitter and struck out 13. So that was my welcome to the major leagues. So, great stuff. The book is about 18 years of playing in New York, the greatest town that anybody can play in. New York is a super town. Some guys can't play here. There's too much pressure from the press. They write all the negatives. They get a kick out of that. They figure that's going to get a guy upset and get him out of town and do certain things. But I was smarter than them. I outlasted them. I had 18 years here. I could have stayed a few more. I chose not to. The ball club had gone back in the basement. And I had been through that for a long 7 years. First 7 years, losing 100 games. I didn't want to.
And then the last 7, same thing, right?
And I was right. They went right back to the basement.
That's why I used to watch every game, even though they were in last place. Tim Foley,
So did a
Mike
lot of
Fell,
people. So did a lot of people, and we had great support from the fans.
Bruce Beauclair.
So that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, to give you a little highlights of my career and what it was like starting at 17 and finishing up at 34. We won one World Series for you in '69. We should have won the second one in '73.
Went to Game 7.
Unfortunately, nobody likes to write about it. But we lost it because of management mistake. Yogi made a mistake in the 6th game and cost us the World Series. So that's basically it. I wrote about every year that I played. But you're just selling stuff while I'm talking. This is great. That's not what we're here for. Buy a book. Yeah, it's all right. It's over here. Anyway, but let's have some fun. Let's throw it open. Who's got a question? And let's.
I got a quick one.
You're sitting here as the guest.
I know that, but I got a question. I can start the questions and then everybody else can ask questions.
Okay, we can do that. I
Because
know
I
him a long time, so I'll let him do it.
I always want to know, what is it like as a 17-year-old kid, never been out of the Bronx, and all of a sudden you're being mentored by Casey Stengel? How is it possible?
Well, I was like the people. I didn't understand him either. He was double talking. He was talking about the old Yankees, the great players in the past. But no, seriously, Casey was a great guy. In the clubhouse, we all could understand him. We knew exactly what he was saying. He was protecting us for doing so poorly, and the press was writing all kinds of stories. So he wanted to give him ammunition. So they wrote about Casey and all the stories, and they had a good time, and it kept the fans occupied until we built an organization 7 years later. But he was great with the young players. He got them all aside. Every day worked with you, taught you as much as he knew how to play the game. And it was just biding time until we got enough players later on and developed and got a manager to lead us astray. We got Gil Hodges, a great manager, and he was the one. If he doesn't die, I guess in '71, we should have won a couple more pennants. We were a good ball club, great pitching, good defense, and we made a couple of trades that helped us along the way. So we should have been independent many more years. When Yogi took over, he was a great guy. Socially, we had a good time with him. But sometimes as a leader, you've got to stand up, take a chance, do certain things. The ball club was too loose. Guys could come and go as they pleased. We had a loose organization, and it just started to slide. Of course, we wound up going back to the basement, and it wasn't fun. So, we wound up losing Gil, and we didn't have a manager for a number of years, and it wasn't a whole lot of fun anymore. Winning is fun. You go to the ballpark, you have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to do, and you enjoy winning, and you look forward to it. The second half is very exciting when you're going for a pennant. You have many games that are important and try to win. Let's see if you have a question?
You have a question?
Me?
And then I'll get you.
Okay.
You get this
Yeah,
gentleman.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
You played very little in the polo grounds. Did
Well,
you have to
I started in right field.
Did you have to adjust your game to the way, the specs of the field?
Well, you can't adjust your game until you're mature enough to be able to do certain things with the pitches. I was too young to be able to pull the ball down the line, which was 259 feet. That would have been a hitter's dream. I hit the ball to right center, and left center. And you know what? They stand out there, they'll catch them all day. I was the only player that chased down 3 balls that were hit into the bleachers. And they were Lou Brock, it was
Brock Huddle.
Hank Aaron, Joe Adcock did, but I wasn't there, so I didn't chase that one down. And then we had a third, the next one was Brock, Aaron, who was the third? It was another one that I chased down in the outfield, playing left field. That was a long run, just to watch the ball go into the bleachers. Okay, you have a question?
I do. First, I wanted to say the book was fantastic. It really was
Glad
good.
you enjoyed
It
it.
was very well written. A lot of the stories I think a lot of Met fans have heard over the years, but you fleshed them out really well. I never heard that story about Bragan, you punching out the first base coach on the Reds during a game. I never heard that one. And that's the sort of thing that could never happen today. If it happened today, that would be a major scandal.
Well, he shouldn't threw it down to right field.
Well,
I mean,
the
just give it
play
back,
would have been-
you
the
know,
play
I
would have
mean,
been dead, though.
And what it was a close play at second, the ground ball, double play, threw it to second, back to first.
Right.
I caught the throw at first. It was a double play as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, as I was walking off the field, the umpire's second called the runner safe. Either the shortstop or second baseman didn't touch the base.
Yeah,
So he was safe on second.
yeah.
I gave the ball to the coach. He took it and threw it down the right field line. He wouldn't give it back.
And then what happened?
Punch him in the head.
All right, that's
When he
good.
wouldn't give it back, we're all.
And if I may, on the subject of that sort of stuff, the Foley story is interesting too. Now, I'd heard that one many times, but you fleshed it out really good in the book. What I'm curious about is, how did you two get along when he came back in '78?
Tim
No
Foley?
problem. He just stayed away from me.
All right, okay.
You know what? He was an excitable young player. I had been through all that stuff, but
Yeah.
when I made it out, I took it out on myself. I didn't take it out on the fan. He would throw the ball around the infield, throw it over my head into the stands. That might hit somebody, might hit a little kid.
Right.
Not everybody's watching the infielders throw the ball around the infield.
Yeah.
He'd throw it in the dirt, bounce up, hit me in the arm, hit me in the chest. I mean, after a while, you gotta be stupid to throw it to him.
Yeah.
And when he's throwing it, when he made it out, you just said, you can't get the ball.
He really poke you in the chest in the dugout?
Well, he banged me a couple of times, and I
Yeah.
said, Tim, just keep your hands to yourself, and
Yeah.
we'll be okay. And he said, I'll do it anytime I want, and I knocked him
Yeah.
out.
Hey, can I ask you one more question? I don't want to take all the time, but can I ask you one more? Which hit gave you more satisfaction, or gives you more satisfaction now when you look back on your career? The home run you hit in '69 in the World Series, or the hit that you had against Cincinnati in the playoff game, the 9-2 game?
Yeah, I drove in the first 2 runs in the 5th game,
Yeah,
and it put us ahead, and we won the pennant.
yeah.
On that base hit, really. I mean, it was on going 8 innings, and I don't know who was pitching, Seaver or whoever it was, shut him down pretty good. I think the hit that, off Billingham, getting a base hit in the first inning, driving in 2 runs, and I wound up playing left field. I think that might have been the game that,
The brawl game?
yeah.
I think it was,
with
yeah.
Pete Rose.
I think it was.
I was in left field when Buddy made the throw to first over Pete's head, about 5 feet over his head, and he was out by 15 feet, and I could see he didn't get out of the base path. And I said, here we go. And
Seen it
I
coming.
hit to him
Yeah.
and started a fight. He was trying to excite Cincinnati. He was upset that we were beating him, and we were going to go to the pennant. He was going to go home.
I remember Joe Morgan said that if Rose didn't do it, he was going to do it. If Rose didn't get Buddy, he was going to get him because of what Buddy had said before the game about, they're hitting like I hit or some nonsense like that.
Well, they were.
Yeah.
they were, but Buddy said what he wanted to, and
Yeah.
you can do it. You don't go out to hurt somebody on purpose. If you do, you're going to start a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
we had pitchers that would protect us, sliding into bases and then throwing guys and stuff like that. That was part of the game. We didn't care.
Thanks.
I got a question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Koufax, I know you hit a double off him. Is that the only hit you got?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure. Really, I did hit a double in the game we won.
And that was
Dismissed
the
a home
game
run.
for the first time you beat Koufax.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he was pretty tough. It's not a bad pitcher. Either was the next guy, Drysdale.
Doug
Wasn't
Drysdale.
bad either. And then they came up with Sutton that won 300 games. A few other guys. Yes.
How crazy of a teammate was Kingman?
Kingman wasn't crazy.
No,
he was self-centered.
Remember, he
Yeah.
popped the cameraman when they got traded the
Well,
the night.
see, he didn't like the press. Maybe that's part of it. But he wasn't wild against the other players and teams and stuff. He wanted to hit home runs. He would be a star today because of the way they're playing the game. They're hitting the ball up in the air.
Yeah.
They take that cut that he had.
Right, the launch
he
angle.
had, and the launch angle he had. He hit the ball further than anybody on our team.
Hit the
Batting
roof of
practice.
Shea. Foul ball. Hit the roof of Shea.
Well, he hit the roof, he hit it over the left field fence into the parking lot. I mean, he never hit balls so far, and he was a strong guy. But he couldn't get a job after his last year. He had 35 home runs in Chicago. Couldn't get a job because he was self-centered, wanted to hit home runs, didn't help the team, so he had problems. Yes.
69 season, of course, started like any other season. At what point during the season did the team start feeling the magic?
Well, 69 didn't start great. I don't think we were a good ball club. It's just like any other year. Here we go again, last place. We started to play good. Gil was a tough manager. In the spring, he said he went around the field and explained what he wanted done and how to play the game, and the fewer mistakes you make, the more chances you got to win. So, he taught us how to play the game, and as the season progressed, we got better and better and better, and won more games. And once we got to 500, it was fun being at 500 at the All-Star break. A little better. And then we played real good baseball. The second half of the year, we beat every club that we had to.
Now, how many games under 500 were you guys in '69 before the run started?
I'm not sure.
It was
I
like a
don't
big-
remember.
big
we
hill
were
to-
under 500, and then
They
we
just
got
went
to
on a
500,
tear.
and then we went on a tear. Second half, we played great baseball, beat every club we had to. Coming down the stretch, we played fantastic, and everyone contributed. We had 25 guys playing.
Where's the ring?
Well, the ring's home.
Oh,
Yeah, we-
bro, he could have wore the ring today.
I don't know. Actually, it's in Florida. That's why I stayed when I came up to New York. I had some things to do.
Got it. That's what you live down in Florida. Whereabouts?
I live in Boca Raton.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I got a
Okay,
question.
who
A
else
friend of
have-
mine, Don DeMola said, tell you.
Don's a gentleman out in Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Good guy. I see him all the time on Facebook.
He tells me that.
Ex-player. He was a good pitcher up in Montreal. Yes, sir.
One more if I could. What was the relationship between Seaver and Kuzma? Were they friends? Was there tension there?
You know what? We had a great group of guys. We played together a long time. We socialized together on and off the field. Some guys are better players and better friends than others, and we socialized more. Seaver socialized with my group. We were there a long time, and we went out to drink together, went out to eat together. And Seaver went out 90% of the time with Buddy Harrelson. They roomed together, and they stayed together. I roomed with Tug McGraw and Ron Sabota. And then they traded. When they traded one, I roomed with the other guy. But the three of us were together.
Who put it together when you guys sang on Sullivan?
I put it together. I was the player.
That was you? No kidding.
Yeah, I put us together going to Las Vegas in '69. We went on Ed Sullivan. We went on a couple of programs.
You see
Later
that one?
on,
You gotta have fun,
Chamsky,
right?
Chamsky put it on together for Everybody Loves Raymond, which he still sees.
I was just talking to my brother about that
So when
today.
you see it on TV, we get about 30 cents.
Yeah.
Big royalty check.
Yeah.
Now we don't get anything, I guess they're on strike, so we can't get anything.
Yeah,
It's funny.
Rudy, got any other questions for these people?
One more here.
I was lucky enough to be at Game 4 in '69, but what I was wondering, they brought Clendenin in, and you didn't play first base as much, obviously, because, now, was that a platoon?
It was a
Lefty,
platoon,
righty
strictly
platoon?
with Hodges. In the playoffs, the left-handers played, and luckily they did, because we scored a lot of runs against Atlanta. Pitching was terrible.
Mhm.
Seaver got knocked out, Matlack got,
Yeah.
Kuzma got knocked out. Every pitcher did poorly. Now, we won those games 10-7,
Mhm.
7-5, high-scoring games.
Sure.
And we wound up getting to Baltimore. Then they had all left-handed pitchers and the righties played.
Yeah.
Remember, the first game was very close. They won that game, and we were a little nervous because the right-handers were not hitting. They won the second game with Kuzma, very close. Then the lefties came to the third game. We knocked out Palmer. That like gave us a spurt because we scored 7 runs. The lefties were the better hitting club that we had, and Gil wanted to platoon. He didn't care. Don Clendenin had a great World Series. He had 3 home runs.
Yeah.
I played 1 game, hit 1. So first base in 5 games had 4 home runs. So it was a hot position.
What was your relationship with Clendenin?
Very good. Don came from a good hitting club. He changed the batting practice. We never took a lot of batting practice. They believed in pitching and defense. 10 swings, and that's batting practice.
Really?
Clendenin came over and said, what is this? This is not batting practice. In Pittsburgh, they would take 50 swings. They took nothing but hitting. So he changed that. He got them to get more. We had to go out and hire, the Mets hired batting practice pitchers. Because the pitchers, if you were they were throwing to you, they're not going to get you a base hit. Seaver's not going to throw the ball in there. He doesn't pitch down the middle.
Right.
He's not throwing it down the middle. So he's working on you. So you have 10 swings.
Yeah.
You miss 8 of them, foul off 2 of them, and that's batting. How would you like to hit Nolan Ryan? Going 100 miles an hour over your head, under your head, behind you.
He's a
You
beast.
didn't know where it was going, and you're going to hit that. That's not batting practice. So they had to change things, and they did.
How was it that when you guys went to Japan, you somehow didn't turn your passport in like the other players did? That was an interesting story.
You don't have to do anything. I'm holding my passport, and I'm glad I did because Yogi wasn't going to play me over there.
So did you really confront him and say, "Look, play me, or I'm going home"?
I confronted Yogi every day. I dressed next to him for 10 years. I mean, we were friends, and he was playing the young guys because a lot of the players, like I said, when you lose, the club changes. We lost, and they weren't too happy with Yogi Berra when We went to Japan. Some didn't refuse to go.
And they all got traded, a lot of them.
Well, they got traded, but they wanted to get traded.
Yeah.
You know, when you lose a pennant, you know, you're mad, you know.
Yeah.
You want to win. You don't want, you're not there playing games. You want to win. So it's a different story.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think the real reason was that Nolan Ryan couldn't succeed in New York?
No one couldn't pitch in New York for the simple reason he didn't work on a regular rotation. He was the odd man out. Anytime with Seaver and Kuzman, they always pitched on 4 days rest.
Right.
So if it was Nolan Ryan's turn to pitch, and Seaver came up, he was going to pitch, and Nolan went to the bullpen. You know, then the next day it was Kuzman's turn to pitch. He went to the bullpen. Then Nolan pitched the third game. So he worked every 7 days, every 8 days, never got the rotation down, never pitched regularly enough to get himself under control. Once he got to not Atlanta, the
Texas.
Angels,
Oh, you're right.
he pitched every 4th day,
Right.
threw 200 pitches and set records. We knew he had the best stuff in baseball.
Really?
I mean, just a matter of getting it over the plate. You have to have confidence. Was it right? No. But it was right in Gil Hodges' mind that he wanted to pitch Seaver every 4th day. Best pitcher in baseball. He was great. So you had to pitch him, and Nolan Ryan suffered from it. But we made a terrible trade. You know, you can trade a pitcher, but you got to get value for who you trade. It's like when we traded Tom Seaver. I said that in the book. We didn't make the trade that we were supposed to.
Yeah.
We were supposed to make a trade for the Dodgers. We had 7 players to be picked, and there was pretty good players. Actually, Joe Torre did pick them. He picked players, and you know, we were roommates back before he became the manager. So he talked to me all the time. So I knew exactly who the players were. I picked the same guys in a different order, but it was basically the same 7 guys. So he was going to make that trade. Seaver was going to get traded back to the Dodgers.
One of them was Sutton, right?
No.
Because that was reported at the time.
It might have been reported.
But it wasn't?
It wasn't on that
Wasn't
piece of
accurate?
paper the Dodgers gave us.
Okay.
So that wasn't it. They had pretty good pitching in there. But we didn't trade it to him. Next thing I know, Joe McDonald, our general manager, goes out with the Cincinnati Reds general manager to have a couple of drinks and then make a trade. And we got 4 guys for Tom Seaver, and it wasn't enough.
Didn't pan out.
Well, it panned out, I mean, but
Not the
you
success
didn't
the
get
Tom
the players in return for Seaver that you could have from the LA Dodgers. They had a better batch of players. You know, they could have really did pretty good. One was a hitter in left field, Pedro Barrera. So he was a pretty good hitter. Wound up being a 300 hitter, but he was good. Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Yes. Sir.
One question. In 1987, you went to Buffalo for a 50th anniversary of closing War Memorial Stadium. I don't know if you remember, not a baseball field event. You went to the event because your last minor league game ever, I think, was at that stadium. You got called up after going 5 for 5. You went up to the Mets, and that's why you were there. You decided to leave that anniversary game early, and they assigned an intern to drive you back to your hotel. He was about 5'3" from Long Island, really, really good looking. And a drive that took 15 minutes took about 45. You got stuffed in a Chevy Chevette. Your knees were up to your chin. Your wife was in the back with a bunch of Buffalo Bison newspapers and hockey equipment. So my question is, do you still remember that event? And have you forgiven that intern driver who put you through that horrendous drive?
No, I didn't care because I was glad to get out of town. You know, that was part, you know, that story there was a culmination of the story with The Natural, the movie.
Yes, that's right.
I was supposed to, yeah, you didn't say that to the people, you know.
Well,
I was supposed to
something else in my
be
mind. I
in
was
the
the driver, so
I
I
was
think I
supposed to be in the
remember
movie, and I refused the movie. I turned it down. I did help them learn how to play first base, and you know, Robert Redford became a pretty good player, you know, and he looked good in the movie. He looked like he could play. We helped him in New York, When they asked me to be in the movie, I said no. I never wanted to go back to Buffalo again. I didn't like it up there. I played there in the minor leagues. It was a terrible city, tough to play in. So I knew I was not going to get a big part. I was going to get a small part, help the guys, look good, and have to be there. My wife would probably come up in the beginning, and she would last 2 days, because that's all she lasted when Bill Rich sent his plane down to pick us up, take us to Buffalo, for that. I said, you wanted me to come to Buffalo and you were mad at me? You wouldn't stay 2 days now. I had a suite, I had a private plane, and we got out of there in 2 days. We didn't stay for the last event. She wanted to leave. I said, that's what would have happened in the movie. I'd have been up there for 6 months. Stuck in Buffalo. No way. No way. Some things I refuse to do.
You're so good looking, Nick.
Used to be.
Yeah, you are. You're a good person, that's all that matters.
Who else has a question? Anybody else?
I have a comment,
Comments, uh-oh.
which is kind of a question too. Whenever we talk about the '69 Mets, okay, whoever I talk to always says, what a great bunch of guys. Anybody who's met any of them, just a great bunch of guys together. The guy that I was very close with, who you very seldom hear anybody talk about, because he was the oldest guy, I think, on the team, was Eddie Charles. And I can't have a discussion about the '69 Mets without talking about Ed Charles, so.
He was.
Could you tell us about Ed Charles?
A very close-knit player, loved to be with all the guys, loved to talk baseball 100% of the time, very religious, wrote poems, poetry, he did all kinds of things, to make the guys happy, and enjoyed playing the game of baseball. He loved it. Came from the Negro Leagues, had a tough time, played down in Kansas City. He was just a great human being, and he lived in New York after he retired, worked for the police department, did a lot of work for them, had a good time, and
Really?
enjoyed himself there. Really did. And we socialized, and he just passed away a couple of years ago. But we had a very close group of guys. They stayed in New York after they retired. We did a lot of socialing together. We went out to dinner. Tommy Agee.
Yeah.
We had him. We had Eddie Charles, 2 black guys. We had Art Shamsky, who's still in New York. He's still very busy in New York. He loves it. Spends the winter in Florida with me over on the East Coast. So we get together all the time. And Eddie Charles was one. We went out like once a month. We socialized with our wives. We had a good time. And we lasted a long, long time. That's why a lot of things were done together as groups. We did a lot of reunions. We all loved them. But each year it gets sadder because we start losing them. We've got a lot of guys that are not feeling well. Gary Gentry, he's in a home right now, he's not doing well. He's got dementia. Poor Buddy Harrelson's got dementia.
Yeah.
He did everything around New York for the little leagues and all kinds of groups and went around to see everybody. Stayed with the Mets for a long time. Worked with the Ducks, became a principal out there. Great guy. And, he's not feeling well these days. So we've lost a lot of guys, and it's difficult as you lose.
Grody's still alive?
Brody's still alive. He's down in Texas. He stays down there. Not too many guys are in New York. You got Marty, myself. That's all that's here. We lost Seaver.
I was gonna say Grody was tough,
Koosman
right?
is still alive. He's in Minnesota, but he doesn't like to socialize and come in anymore. Very infrequently.
Got it.
Surprised no one's asked you this. Who was the toughest pitcher you ever faced?
Toughest for me would be Phil Negro. He threw a knuckleball, threw it 60 miles an hour. And the thing about Phil, he knew he had a great knuckleball, but sometimes on occasion he would throw a fastball to somebody or a curveball to somebody, they'd get base hits. With me, he knew I couldn't hit his knuckleball. He'd throw it 99% of the time.
How'd you do against Gibson?
And I couldn't hit it. I couldn't hit it with a paddle. Gibson I did well. Gibson was not a problem.
I remember-
Fastball. fastball slider, try to overpower you, try to intimidate you.
You were talking about Buddy a second ago. I remember him saying Buddy apparently had a really good career average against Gibson, according to him. I remember saying that. I've never researched it, and you know, Buddy wasn't exactly known for his bat, but apparently he did pretty well against Gibson, which was surprising. To hear.
I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
He could have. I mean, he was down in the lineup, so he didn't hurt him too much.
No.
You know, but Gibson was a great pitcher, great competitor. He'd go get you 9 innings. He's not a 5-inning pitcher like they have today. Today's pitch game is ridiculous. 5 innings, 6 innings. Get somebody else warmed up. They wear out their pitching staff by halfway the season, pitching these guys as much as they do, and then they say, let's keep getting new ones. They got so many guys you don't even know who it is anymore. You know, by the time you warm a guy up every night, throw him in the game.
You just described the Mets bullpen. I mean, they change guys out like every day now. It's
Unfortunately,
ridiculous.
They bring them in all the time. You know, you got to rest the pitcher. We had guys that went 9 innings. Seaver and Kuzmin and Gentry would go 9 innings on occasion. But he pitched late into the ball game, so the bullpen didn't have to warm up every night. It's a shame. These guys can wear themselves out.
Right.
I mean, the Mets, I thought this year they were going to win a pennant.
Everybody did.
He spent his money, Mr. Cohen.
It's not over yet.
I don't know what happened, you know, a couple of weeks ago when all of a sudden he decided enough's
Not over
enough.
yet.
Let's trade him. You know, he gave him away and he had to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
He paid a lot of money to the other teams to take him, so it was a tough situation. But he is putting his money up. He's trying to get the players, but you can't just buy players. You got to develop them. He's right with that. In the minor leagues, you got to bring up your own kids, and then move in an occasional player. And you got to know the player. You know, you got to have a feel for how he plays, how he does in situations. New York's a tough town too. Tough town to pitch in. You know, if you don't do well, they're gonna rip you apart, the press. You know, we're gonna see what's going on. No, I would take a couple more. Okay.
How do you feel about these new rules, like the pitch clock and the?
Well, the one rule I like is speeding the game up.
Yeah.
The game was too long. It took 4 hours. People don't want to see a 4-hour game. They're tired of that. You can lose in 2.5 hours. And play the game right. Move it along. Stop fooling with your gloves. Stop tugging on your pants and doing whatever.
Definitely.
You know, get the guy to pitch. And they're all pitching better. They're all working in a groove. They're not standing out there thinking. Throw the ball. The rule with the second base, extra innings,
Hate it.
I think it's a farce.
Yeah.
Take something away from the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
Awful.
like it.
Thank you.
I think the fans ought to pick the rules. Get some rules that you want to put in the game and then have the fans vote on them. And then pick it. I don't think anyone would vote for that rule.
You know, the pitch clock isn't really a new rule. The clock is new.
Yeah.
But the rule that a pitcher had to throw the ball,
Right.
it used to give him 12 seconds. In 1901, that rule was put in baseball.
Right.
Everybody thinks it's brand new. The rule was always there, they just didn't enforce it.
They never enforced it,
Now they're
right.
enforcing it, and they've given them a little
Oh,
more time.
and over the years, the
I think
pitches
it's
have
a great
lottie-dod
rule.
more and more where,
It's a good rule. It speeds the game up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You play the game, it's the action. And I like being able to play extra inning games because occasionally you have a long one. And the fans can now talk about something that's spectacular
Yeah.
to see. 20 innings, 22 innings. I was in 26 innings.
what was the longest one you were in?
I think 26 innings.
26?
74, right?
Crazy.
74.
It's almost 3
It
games.
was the second game, I think it was a doubleheader or something.
Oh,
But we
yeah.
had a lot of long games.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so it was fun. We got too tired, you know, we didn't have a lot of food in the clubhouse. So in between doubleheaders, we had a cup of soup. And you play a doubleheader and you play the second game, you know, we'd still be playing.
Speaking of fun, can you just, I know the answer, but I want to hear from you, like, that last out made in '69, the euphoria that just pumped through your veins of
Well,
victory.
We knew Cleon could catch that one. That wasn't the problem. Once
And it
he
was
went
so
out-
ironic of who hit the ball.
Yeah, Davy Johnson.
Davy Johnson.
Came on.
Crazy.
Just in '86.
Yeah.
He was a great player.
He was a great
You know,
player.
Atlanta was a great team. Baltimore was a good team. You know, they had good players. The league back in those days, remember, only had 8 teams, and then they went to 10. less players. I think the competition was tougher back then because you didn't have as many players. There's players in the major league that should be in the minors. They don't know how to play the game. When you see all these mental mistakes,
Right.
that shouldn't be in the major leagues. That should be in the minor leagues. They should have 5 different coaches teaching the game the same way, and they could be able to slot those guys and bring them to the New York and fill in any position they should be able to play. That's the instructions in the minor leagues. Playing all these games, they're all interested in winning games. It's improving the young players to get them in a position
To the
where
next level.
they can fill in.
I remember the Mets pulled that, they brought a couple of people up a little, even in the 70s, brought them up a little too early. There was a kid, what was his name? Leo Foster. Poor kid, remember him?
We got it from Atlanta.
I don't think he ever got a hit.
Got a few, but not many.
Not many, and that just,
That's the scouts.
if anything, that hurts you mentally,
Yeah, it does. It's tough. Guys today, I should have pulled up some of them are not ready to play. But anyway, who else?
So I had a question. During the 1969 World Series, we see a lot of the players get along really good now. Were you guys friendly with those guys over on the other side, like during batting practice, or was it real adversary?
We didn't socialize.
Not at all.
The reason they socialize today is they're on every team.
Yeah,
different
they-
team every year.
right, too many.
So they know all the players. So how do you tell them not to say hello to them?
Yeah.
But to me, it looks.
Right, you got Lindor hugging
knew
last night. What is
After
that?
15 years, we knew Drysdale was going to quit because he walked up to the fence. He walked up to the batting cage. He was looking at us. He never came out during the game. He wouldn't talk to you. None of those guys would talk to you.
They wouldn't talk to you.
No way.
That's how it should be.
They're not on your
Yeah.
team. They're,
It's
a battle.
They're an enemy.
Right,
It's a
they're
war.
an enemy, right.
Damn right.
You didn't talk to the guy. And you didn't make it so obvious at first base. Alondo's having some great conversations, it looks like. You don't know what the hell he's talking about over there. But he's a kid I don't want to see traded. Pete is a good young player.
Yeah.
Good young player. He's the Mets offense.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they're talking about trading him.
It's two guys on the fan that won't shut up about it,
Oh.
and they're the only two guys that are pushing it so hard that he's cancered the core. He's got to go. What? He's stupid.
I wouldn't let him go because he's
He's
the only
putting
one that's
130 RBIs a year up on the board. You're gonna get rid of him.
He's
Should
going to
be
hit
going
50 home
anywhere.
runs this year.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I hope not. I hope they sign him to a
Yeah.
long-term contract.
He's
You know.
not-
Do you have any pull, Ed?
I have no pull. I know Mr. Cohn. I've been up in his box. I sit there and talk to him. No pull whatsoever. They don't think I know the game. I really don't think they do. Because they don't really discuss what baseball with me. When I do talk to them, goes in one ear and out the next,
The game hasn't changed.
I don't
at
know
all.
what's going on there.
Mr. Cohn is a real passionate baseball fan though, right? That's what I always hear about.
I think so.
Met fan.
If I was spending
Met fans are
that
passionate.
kind of money, I guess he's passionate, yeah. I don't talk bad about him. I think he's putting his money where his mouth is. The players are responsible for not playing, not the owners.
That's right.
Not the coaches, not anybody. You put a guy, but I think you ought to teach the players how to play the game. And if they don't play right, then I take them out. I don't let them keep getting away with the same mistakes. Mental mistakes are not part of the game. That shouldn't be, you shouldn't be making so many of those negative things, throwing to the wrong base, not knowing what the hell's doing.
You didn't see that back in your time.
Except the.
You knew how to play the game, but you didn't play it. And with Gil Hodges, if you didn't play with his rules, you were gone.
Oh,
He let you get away with it once. He brought you in the clubhouse. You went in his office. He sat you down, and he just sat there. And you said, "What the hell am I sitting here for?" He wanted you to start talking and tell him what you did. You know you made the mistake. You know what you did. Tell me what you did. He didn't come out and bring it out. And he let you talk.
I think that was in Buddy Harrelson's book.
It was.
That if Gil called you into his office, it was like going to the principal.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, if he brought you in, you had to tell him what you did, how you could correct it, and not do it again. And then he walked out, never talked to the press, didn't embarrass you, and he set it straight. and we all had to play under those rules. He was a great manager. He should have made the Hall of Fame, as a manager, whatever, they do that. So that's very good, so I hope everybody's having a good time, and
Hell yeah.
we got some questions.
Thank you.
We got a bunch of people, what do you wanna do, Rudy?
Well.
All right, so a lot of you have already purchased books and photos. If you still need books and photos, come see me.